public performance right for terrestrial radio is something that doesn't exist yet, frankly. It would, if it did exist, compensate performing artists and sound copyright owners for the over-the-air broadcasts of their work. Basically, right now, if you listen to the radio and you heard Aretha Franklin's Respect, you might think that she gets paid, but she doesn't. Only the songwriter gets paid, in this case Otis Redding, or Otis Redding's estate, he's no longer with us, and the publisher. So a public performance right for terrestrial radio would compensate the performing artist and the sound copyright owner, which is usually the label but can also be the performer, for the over-the-air broadcast of their work. Well, musicians who get played on terrestrial radio could definitely count on this revenue stream in a big way. The public performance right currently exists for internet radio, it exists for satellite radio, it exists for those weird non-video cable music channels on the high end of your cable TV dial. But terrestrial radio has always enjoyed an exemption from paying this royalty. And the really interesting thing is that most of the rest of the world pays a public performance right to performing artists for over-the-air broadcasts. The United States doesn't. North Korea doesn't. Iran doesn't. But most of the rest of the world does. And what this means is if you're an American artist and, like, say, a jazz or an R&B artist, and you might not get a lot of airplay over here in the States, but you're still getting played pretty regularly in Europe, you're not able to collect that money because there's no reciprocal right in the United States. And so, it's really a question of, fairness, and it's a question of making sure that American artists are able to receive, money that's owed to them directly, which, if the performance right was passed, it would pay the performing artists directly. That money wouldn't go to the label to be held against their debt. It's money that they earned for their performance. And so, for that reason, Future of Music Coalition supports it. Future of Music Coalition has supported the public performance right pretty much since we came together 10 years ago. Of course, the debate's been going on a lot longer than that, pretty much since the birth of radio itself. We support the public performance right because we just simply believe it's the right thing. Anytime you can compensate artists for their efforts, we think that's great. Anytime you can compensate artists directly for their work, even better. We've been involved in the conversation, helping performing artists realize what's at stake here, informing policymakers about the importance of compensating American artists, particularly for the overseas plays. I mean, that's a big one. It's hard to imagine any other American industry where an American worker isn't compensated for their work or gives away their work to the rest of the world for free. So we see that as something that definitely needs to be addressed, and we're going to continue to support the public performance right until performing artists are compensated for the use of their work in terrestrial broadcast mediums.